Hey, good morning, guys. Hopefully, you can hear me okay. So, I am still trying to figure out the weird phenomenon that happened last week when, was it last week? Yeah, last week when I talked about um, Skinamarink. I don't know if it was the movie, it was something really bizarre. And I talked about this in the live stream earlier this afternoon, just trying to go on at these random times to see when our audience is on. I'm not sure, what happened last week, but I kind of put it in the description that it was the most viewers that we had at once, and I unknowingly ignored the chat. Yo, bro, streaming at 1 a.m. Hey, have we have we have a regular viewer. Bro, did you get notified that I went live? What's happening? I don't know. Maybe this is when I suppose other parts of the world, wherever we might have followers, uh, that they're on. It's the most convenient time. Well, so I was just talking about last week how I watched Skinamarink, and at the end of it, decided to go live just with my phone. Really crappy. I didn't care about the lighting. I shot it in a similar fashion that Skinamarink was, which was an abstract view on the camera, extremely low light, and yeah, I was about to say I unknowingly ignored two people that were in the live chat. And then he says, he asks, "What are you talking about?" And then I wasn't responding because I didn't see. I wasn't paying attention to my phone. I just held it like this. Um, and he says, "Okay, I'm out." And so I failed to respond to him, but that was the first time that we've had some non-regulars stream. So uh, looks like we got Lord Gedrald so far, and I really don't know when the 30 this last week decided to come on. If they came on all at once or a little bit at a time. I don't know if it was the movie poster of Skinamarink that drew people in. I don't know. I feel like this thumbnail was maybe somewhat appealing, I hope. And that people in other parts of the world that might be, I don't know, getting up in the morning or on lunch break, that maybe they'll chime in here. But so far, we are still at one view. Woohoo! So, as the title suggests, I was going to talk about childhood movies that I grew up with. So, let's start with the original Top Gun. I think, like many, this got me excited to want to fly and join the Navy and just fly jets for a living. That has always been my dream job, but I didn't go that way. I built model airplanes of, let's see, my first one was a 1/72nd scale F-15. That was just a snap together kind, and then an F4 Phantom 2. That was my first glue together kind. That I gave my own custom paint scheme, is black and white, and from BC, bro. I think Top Gun is from 1984 or 86, something like that. It's kind of weird to think that the movie took place that long ago. What else did I make? I did an F-14. I think it was a 1/48 scale F-14. I never did. Yeah, F-15, but it was a really small one. I had a Russian plane. It was a flanker. I think that's Su-27 or 29. What else was there? I think another one was an Apache that was much, much smaller. So anyway, I was really into airplanes. Not so much on the history. I just liked, the way that some of them looked, and I was able to identify some of them. I wrote a speech in 8th grade wanting to work for an aerospace company, work on airplanes. So yeah, Top Gun was huge. I liked how real the flight scenes looked, only to find out later that they were real flight scenes. I guess the story was kind of okay. I was mostly interested in all the flying part. That's what it was to me. And I just thought Tom Cruise's character Maverick, was really cool, and his and Goose's chemistry was pretty awesome. And so you saw some patriotism in there, and some tragedy, and I guess life in what do they call that? Is it Fighter Town? I forget what at Top Gun, Navy Weapons School. I can't remember. So yeah, Top Gun was one of those films for me. What else? And so for mostly, I watched it on. We never had cable. We watched it on VHS, and so it was recorded on VHS while it was on network TV. So there were commercials, and then if you don't know, you hit record on a VHS and it starts recording whatever is on TV. When you want it to stop recording, you hit the pause button during the commercials and hope that you hit the pause button, the unpause button, same button, early enough so that you don't miss when it comes back on. And then you'll have it all kind of strung together at the end. And I wore out that VHS tape. And because it was on network TV, a lot of the words were censored. And I had no idea for probably over a decade that there was cursing in the movie. I thought, wow, I don't remember hearing all that, because I pretty much had the movie memorized. And I think some of the words were actually changed. They were dubbed over with different words. I am hungry. I need some chips. And then, yeah, so that was a revelation to me, was to hear the uncensored version. And I think it was also edited for TV, so there were some parts. I'm pretty sure some parts were cut out of it for time. So yeah, and then another one was Bloodsport. That one was also recorded from network television on beta tape, which was the smaller version of VHS. And I remember that at a certain point in day 2 of Kumite, that they had, hey, we got 3 viewers. Hey guys, join in the chat and say, hey, we are just talking about movies that I grew up with during my childhood. So far we talked about Top Gun, and now I'm talking about Jean-Claude Van Damme's Bloodsport from 80 something, of course, 1980 something, 84, 86, I don't know. But there was a part in the recording that I might have cut to Blazing Saddles, so it might have gotten mixed in with another recording. And so day 2 of Kumite was kind of segmented before it, with, I guess, a recording of Blazing Saddles before it got back into Bloodsport. So I watched that one, many, many times, and did a lot of spin kicks in the house and tried to do splits. That didn't work out so well. Let's see. So yeah, Bloodsport. What else? The Last Starfighter. Uh, I have been waiting for this one to be streaming free on one of the platforms, but I have yet to see it, at least for free. I'm a cheapskate, so I'm not, it was kind of a cool movie, and I'm talking about it here, obviously, because I certainly watched it a lot when I was a kid. Um, if you know about the Death Blossom, then, if you know, you know. I can't remember the lead actor's name. The names of the characters were kind of fuzzy on me, but essentially it's a story about this guy who likes to play this video game, and it's a spaceship goes after the bad guys. I guess there's another alien race involved, and it turns out that it is somewhat of a test for potential. I'm not sure what they're called, starfighters, I suppose. And so the lead guy is visited by the alien and says, "Hey, we want you," almost like a Starship Troopers kind of thing. And so he gets pushed into this new realm where he's going to blast away the bad guys, and he's trying to keep it a secret from his brother. Anyway, it was a really cool science fiction show with, from at least from what I remember. I really have not watched this. It's probably been over 20 years since I've seen the movie, but to me, the special effects were really cool, and the story was great. I don't know why I've not. Well, I guess because I also have not searched it very often. Also, so I don't. Maybe it has showed up on streaming. I'm not sure. But yeah, the last Starfighter is an awesome movie. Predator is another good one. Both the first and the second one I watched. Boy, I think I might have had Predator 2 on VHS also. No, yeah, I had both of them on VHS. Allergies are terrible today. So yeah, I mean, you got Arnold, just some big buff dude on screen carrying a gun and shooting aliens, in the jungle, and nobody had ever seen anything like the Predator. It was around the same time frame that Alien became a thing, and so those two right there were huge alien characters that really made an impact on film, and it started this loyal following of Alien and Predator fans. And for a really long time, fans wanted to see the two duke it out. Well, they are yet to make a successful film about that, I think. But anyway, the Predator's ability to cloak and his claws reminded me of the Shredder. If you remember the main ninja villain from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Shredder, he had claws very much like that, almost like Wolverine, kind of over his wrist, and they were retractable. His self-destruct feature, obviously, but the invisibility cloak was probably one of the coolest things. He had these dreadlocks, he had a really cool mask, and he had the infrared vision. Actually, he had several vision cycles, vision modes, I guess. But one of the obvious ones was the infrared one. So just overall, somebody came up, and the way his mouth is constructed, the way the fangs came out, super cool looking monster for its time. Bro, we have 0 viewers. What happened? I'm not popular tonight. But maybe you'll catch us later on. Who knows? We'll see. And the it's not a, I guess it's more of a clicking sound that he made when he's breeding. I can't do it. Or his roar. Uh, so many cool things about the Predator. Um, so that's another one. And Alien. Obviously, I think I saw the second one before I saw the first one. um, and it's just a great shoot 'em up. You got you got the Marines with a great lineup of personalities. You got the non-serious guy. Probably the most famous one is Bill Paxton's character, Corporal Hudson. Obviously, there's also Sigourney Weaver playing as Lieutenant Ellen Ripley, and can't remember the actress name, but she plays Vasquez, um, who happens to be the stepmother or the mother of John Connor in Terminator 2. And I believe she's also the actress in Titanic. She's got two boys, and they unfortunately go down with the ship. And she's got a much different voice than the one that she speaks with. She speaks with a Latino accent in Aliens, but I think her real voice might have an Irish accent, which is kind of funny. But there are so many one-liners in that movie, just many things to quote. They came up with some really cool guns in there: the smart gun, the pulse rifle, the grenade launcher, the Alien Queen. Just as an overall, I just got done talking about Predator, but an overall really unique concept from the mind of H.R. Giger. He had a documentary on TV one time that was pretty interesting, but he had an interesting imagination that led to these things coming to life. But if you were to see Giger's artwork, it's all kind of similar in nature, and there's interesting to say the least. Nope, Alien and Predator were completely separate. They had nothing to do with one another. There was no mention. And I several minutes ago I was saying that everybody wanted these two things to be combined, and when they did, it was they shouldn't have done it. They are yet to do it right. They are yet to make a Doom movie right, which was. So I'll go back to that in a second, but Aliens was just a really cool movie, really cool ending. I think James Horner scored the movie, and you could listen to it on its own. Great film, great soundtrack. The game was awesome. Even the first Alien versus Predator was a hit, and I guess they listened to the fans, they improved upon it, and AVP2 was one of the best games I've ever played. Okay, so what is another one? Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters was great. That one also has Sigourney Weaver as one of the supporting. She's probably considered a lead, I guess. Along with let's see, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, and not Winston Zeddemore. I don't know. That's his character name. The black guy. Forget his name. Ernie Hudson. There you go, Ernie Hudson. So I saw when Universal Studios in Orlando first opened, they had a show, if you will, that featured the Ghostbusters and tried to showcase the special effects that you would see in the movie. Terrible exhibit at Universal Studios. And it was super cheesy. Hopefully they improved upon it since then, but that was 30 plus years ago. Might not even be there anymore. But another great concept put to film. A new creation. These um, pro. What did they call them? They're proton packs, um, which was such a popular weapon that it was nicknamed the Egon, which was Harold Ramis's character's name. Uh, there was a gun in the game Half-Life that could, kill somebody in a second, very, very much like the Ghostbuster gun, but it was nicknamed the Egon because it obviously um, was a, a a tribute to a great movie. Another 80s movie. Really fun story, a great set of characters, and a completely rewatchable movie with lots of quotable lines. um, Last one I'll probably talk about tonight. We're not getting to 30 views. I don't know what it was about Skinamarink. Man, we had 30 views, and I'm thinking, wow, 30 views. I'm not this super YouTuber that's got 10,000 views or however many people watch famous YouTubers. I don't know. But when I was looking at our past live streams, we had Skinamarink around, it's around 42 right now, but at the time of the stream, it was 30. And if you look at the others, 10, 8, 6, 4, 12, what happened? There's a glitch in the matrix, as the kids say. Go away from strictly movies. There's also He-Man and Thundercats and Voltron. Oh, we can't go there now. Yeah, He-Man, Thundercats, Voltron, Dino Saucers, Dino Riders, Silverhawks, Mask. Obviously, all of those are from the 80s. GoBots was another one. GoBots was the ripoff of Transformers. Oh, yeah, obviously Transformers, G.I. Joe, which I didn't get into G.I. Joe too much. But the others, I definitely got into. A lot of those were after school shows or Saturday morning shows. I'm not sure if Saturday morning shows are a thing anymore. Probably not. There's, Muppet Babies. What else was paired with that one? Yeah, I forget. But yeah, kids got up early, 9 o'clock or so, 8 o'clock, to watch Saturday morning cartoons. But a lot, I talk about a lot of those 80s movies. I don't know if any of them broke into the 90s. I didn't even talk about the Rocky movies, which are great. But I'll switch over to games real quick and talk about those. So I grew up with a lot of the, I'm always talking to my kids that these were breakthrough games that have now formed the foundation for a lot of the, particularly first-person shooter games. And I guess now these battle royale format kind of games. So the first one I played at my friend's house was Wolfenstein 3D. Later came Doom from 1993. I think Wolfenstein was 92. And then came Quake. So the stats for any of you guys that are nerds that know your PC stats, we got people play Doom on their smart fridge. Yeah. And probably in the year 2000, we had some people playing, if you know the famous Windows game Minesweeper, they programmed that into their reverse Polish notation HP calculator. Kind of silly. People do some crazy things. So yeah, what followed Quake. So at the time, my parents had just purchased a new PC, This is not a built one. This was just one purchase from a smaller computer store, not one of the big box ones. 233 megahertz uh, AMD processor. And I think it had 128 megabytes of RAM and perhaps an 8 megabyte graphics card. And so I could play, Half-Life became the thing. And, the graphics cards were, for that time, if you wanted the really cool graphics, you had to get the graphics 3D accelerators. So the 3DFX Banshee, the 3DFX Voodoo, yeah, up order of magnitude from megabytes to gigabytes for sure. And so that you could run what they call it, scanline interleave SLI mode. You can have two video cards going in parallel to boost your video performance. So there is Need for Speed 2, all those games. But the shooter that followed Quake was Half-Life, which had a really compelling story, revolving obviously around Gordon Freeman. Pretty cool weapons, and SLI didn't die. Yeah. But now they just have, graphics cards the size of your chest freezer. So you need a generator just for today's graphics cards. When in Wolfenstein and Doom, there was no jumping. Doom, I think you can only look forward. There was no, you couldn't turn your you couldn't look up or down in those first two. Now Quake, you had full motion, but you could not crouch, and you only had to put the enemy at the center of your screen, and then the game would know that you're trying to shoot that guy. There was no reticle yet. That first showed up in the first Half-Life game, 1998. I have my CD key memorized, but that was version 100. Yeah, the original CD version. And then Half-Life came out with some mods. One was Counter-Strike. The other was Counter-Strike actually came later. First was Team Fortress, which is a skills team-based kind of gameplay. And then there was Firearms, which was military-based. And then there was, I just said it, Counter-Strike, which obviously took off. So did Team Fortress for a little while. And then what followed Half-Life was Unreal. And so you got the Source engine. I think it was called Gold Source back then, is what powered the original Half-Life. And then Unreal, I guess they called it the Unreal Engine back then. I don't know. And Unreal was fun because they had Firearms was the only one that didn't get its own game, which is sad. Yeah, Firearms is really, really good. There are you can find some websites on there of the loyal followers trying to keep it alive. So Unreal lacked a little bit of story because it really focused on the graphics, because instead of polygons, you had these curved, smooth shapes, which is really pretty to look at when you first played this game. It was really amazing, and it had pseudo reflections in there, or they might have been real reflections. Pretty translucent water. Really pretty game to look at with some unique weapons, some smarter enemies. They didn't come at you in numbers. They came at you, just a handful at a time, but the enemies were smarter. They talked about AI, that maybe they learned a little bit, for in their own capacity for back then. So yeah, Half-Life and Unreal kind of took the stage for a while and set the stage for um, games now that I can't even tell you what they are. I can only think of Fortnite, but I know there's a whole. I guess Call of Duty was one that became popular. Medal of Honor, uh, Duke Nukem was another old one that came out with Wolfenstein. Um, so yeah, that's a quick shoot, offshoot talking about games. So, and Unreal also had bots because while you could do online multiplayer, I guess not everybody had the internet at the time. The internet was still in its infancy to the regular Joe Schmo. Perhaps it was used more in I don't know, I guess military operation. I don't know. I'm really just guessing here, but it didn't. It was not a household thing. I don't know, until maybe 2000 2005 time frame when people probably still had dial-up, where you would have to wait approximately 1 to 2 minutes to connect to the internet. It was beneficial to have a second phone line that was dedicated to that so that you didn't tie up your landline if people try to call you, because cell phones were not a regular thing yet. Um, when internet had a phone number, yeah, that's right. And you had a big old card PCI slot modem in your tower. Um, I guess that's it. Going on 32 minutes. We had a max of 3 viewers tonight. Will I do this again? I have no idea. We'll see if there will be viewers after tonight. So anyway, I have no idea what I'm going to talk about next time, but while I was baking some blondies, I came up with this one, genned up a thumbnail real quick, and so we'll see what happens. Thanks for joining in, Lord Drilled, and I'm going to end stream because I got to cut up some blondies and box them up. See you later.